And but by this time, you no longer have free will.
Okay.
So, I mean, this has happened to people, I've heard.
I've heard that. Yeah, well, that's... Of course, you were in the industry. You would know. Like, this is what...
Well, but you don't have to be in the industry. You just have to be a guy who's not married, and you know how this kind of slippery slope works.
It's just slippery slope, you know.
It's like, yeah, let me look at some bathing suits, and soon you're watching a bukkake 18-year-old gangbang. So watch out, folks.
Yeah, it's just a downhill slope, huh?
Yeah.
It's like, don't walk through that first step.
Yeah.
Don't do it, lady.
Yeah, don't do it, lady. So after the Egyptians were wiped out, the Israelites sang a song of rejoicing. There's nothing in the Torah that indicates that this was not right.
Oh, God. Okay, we have to do this. Back in May, I brought out all this form. You say there's nothing in Torah. I brought out in May, and we did it on the show. It's in the Gemara. It's in the Talmud. It's in the Rambam. It's in the Shulchan Aruch. It's in, I think it was...
What, condemning the Israelites? I'm not discussing this whole issue. I'm just discussing the Israelites in this particular section of the Torah. I didn't bring up Osama. I didn't make any big plan. I said the Israelites, after the Egyptians drowned, they sang a song of rejoicing.
Oh, okay, because you tried to move that.
I've done that in the past, but I didn't do that tonight.
Oh, okay, I thought that I was already... All right, yeah. Fine, okay. So actually you exercised free will there.
I did.
You didn't feel like you have to go back to your old stupidities, right? You just kept it focused. Okay, very good. Now that I'm
Rabbi Beryl Wine writes, human beings are basically dissatisfied creatures. The rabbis taught us that he who has 100 million always wishes for 200 million. So, it's like the most beautiful woman you'll see walking down the street. There's a guy out there who's tired of being with her. Like you'll look at her and go, wow, she's amazing. But there's a guy out there who's been with her for 6 months, and he's dying for something new. So...
Oh, we did this 2 years ago, where you said that sex is boring with people after 6 months. Well, and there was a woman or two in the chat room at the time, and they said you were wrong on that.
Yeah, well, isn't that just like a woman?
Now we don't even have women in our chat room anymore. We have Faith. That's good. Faith, what do you think about that? Say your whole bit. We'll have Faith pop in.
Okay, so the half-life of a sexual relationship, according to one thing I read, is 6 weeks. 6 weeks after it began, it's going to be half as intense. And then generally it becomes less and less intense for most people over time. For instance, when I was growing up, I had married people tell me that if you put a bean in a jar for every time you have sex in the first year of marriage, and then took one bean out for every time you have sex after the first year of marriage, you'll never exhaust the jar. You'll have more sex in the first year than you'll have in the rest of your lives together.
Who says that?
But these were Goyim. So.
Okay. Oh, I want to ask questions on that. Do you get a different bean each time, on the same day,
Yeah, every time you have sex, you got to put a bean in the jar.
Okay.
In the first year.
Okay, I don't know. I want to ask Faith if she thinks that's legit. What does she say?
Would anyone shake my right hand without making me rinse it first in antibacterial soap?
By the way, Hector is in the room. He hasn't been in months. So hello, Hector. Faith, I did get your email. I haven't had a chance to sit down with it. I'll get to it. I'll get to it this week.
Okay.
Somebody said something about me being racial. What the hell is that about? I have to take offense to that. You are a racist, Rabs. Oh, from Abe's?
Don't worry
take
about
it with a grain. I know. Take it with a grain of salt.
Okay.
All right. So Faith. Oh, she did comment at the bottom.
No, she didn't.
Yes, she did. Oh, you missed what you said because of a commercial? Okay, repeat it.
No, I'm not going to repeat the whole thing.
Okay, keep going.
Okay, sports fans. Rabbi Wine writes, the rabbis therefore define wealth in terms of personal satisfaction and gratitude. And they ruefully remark that there are few wealthy people in our world. So I found that most people who are grateful are religious. Dennis Prager says the essential ingredient for happiness is gratitude. So
What does the Torah say?
I'm not sure the Torah says many things, but one of the things that Judaism ingrains in you is you should say 100 brachas a day. You should give thanks, say 100 blessings a day. So when you give thanks for eating bread and drinking wine, banging a shiksa, whoops, erase that. When you give thanks for all the little things in life and the big things, then it develops gratitude. Though many people just say it and it doesn't seem to have any effect on them.
Well, okay. It depends on the individual.
Okay, so after the victory over the Egyptians, the people of Israel, faced with the problems of the real world, which seemingly never disappeared no matter how great the previous euphoria may have been, turned sullen and rebellious. So I converted to Judaism, through Reform rabbis to begin with, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm Jewish now. But it wasn't long before I was engaged in the utmost of degradation. So one hand I was like, euphoric, yeah, this is great, ethical monotheism, take God to the world, and the next moment I was getting blowjobs. So
you can do that as part of the reform package.
I remember after the New Orleans Saints won the Super Bowl a few years ago, Dennis Prager asked, how exactly does this help New Orleans? Because everyone was saying, oh, this is so great for New Orleans. But for all the people who are in New Orleans, it doesn't really help their lives if they're struggling to pay the bills, or the city's got crime and all sorts of problems. It's not going to solve the crime problem. When President Obama was elected president, did anyone's lives change for the good aside from people getting federal jobs? People still have to pay their gas and their mortgage and have all the same problems that they had prior to Obama's election. So you can have these euphoric moments, but then you've got to come back to reality. The moment of absolute physical triumph is not to be repeated again in the story of Israel in the Sinai Desert. The Sinai Desert will hardly be a thrilling time for Israel. So it is with all human and national victories. Once the euphoria settles down, the problems and frustrations begin. So most people don't even get one euphoric moment like the drowning of the Egyptian pursuers. So if you get one in your life, be grateful, don't expect two.
You had one the day you met me.
Exactly. I remember when I was on the cover of the Jewish Journal, I thought, oh, I was euphoric.
God, how many times are you going to mention that?
And it's oh man, this is going to totally transform my social standing. And even though the article portrayed me as a jerk, and then I had this giant crash, and then afterwards life went on. And despite being on the cover, I did not get any more Shabbos invites. I didn't get any Shabbos invites that weekend that I was on the cover. My life did not improve.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
The Jewish Journal is not. You know what? It would have been good if you had your picture on the cover of, let's say,
Playboy magazine.
No, some
Jewish Action.
Jewish Action.
That's going to be a cold day in hell.
A Jewish Action, or something a little bit more from Mishpacha. You ever seen that magazine? Yeah. Mishpacha magazine. If you had your face on the cover, then there, Levi ben Avraham, the new Ezra of our generation. He's the scribe. He's writing it all down. Levi's got it going on. Here's a full article on Levi ben Avraham, aka Luke Ford, and he went from he was Rochav, and he used to be involved in the most god awful stuff, and now he's the predominant, the premier, the big guy in Torah, whatever. I would be impressed by that, and that might awaken some people to say, we should have him over for our Shabbos. Maybe we should have him marry our daughters, right? I need to give this guy a job. I want him as my son-in-law, and I want to make him, whatever. But it's in the Jewish Journal, and you keep looking to the Jewish Journal and thinking this actually holds weight. It doesn't hold any weight anywhere. And I don't even understand why you quote it all the time. And I wish you would stop. It's got nothing to do with Judaism. That's number one. Okay, that's all I want to say.
Rabbi Wein writes, the less grandiose our expectations are, the less painful our disappointments become. I think that's part of the reason that my life has been so painful, because I keep having these grandiose expectations for myself. I feel like I was born for greatness.
Newt Gingrich says he's a man of grandiose ideas.
Yeah, well, I'm a man of grandiosity. Yet I struggle to pay the bills. I think I blame pop music for my